Curiosity led me to Rome, and it changed the way I experienced life. My first visit to Rome was inspired by the movie Before Sunrise with Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke. It was filmed in Vienna, Austria, so I decided I wanted to go to Europe. I remembered my ex-colleague Vincent. Vincent and I hadn't spoken to each other for a year since he had moved to Rome, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to visit Italy. So I emailed him, and I asked him if I could come visit. And he responded a day later with, "Yes, of course." So I went. When I first arrived in Rome, I fell deeply in love with the Eternal City. The sounds of Italian spoken on the street, the sights of the beautiful architecture, the vibrant colors of the buildings, and the bright sunshine. The energy was amazing. My heart was open. Vincent and I had a connection when we worked together back in the US, and something sparked when we were together again. There was a moment when we were on the bus together holding the same railing, and our hands touched, and I immediately felt a spark. And I thought, wow, there's something here. We spent the remainder of that trip exploring our feelings for one another. Rome was an incredible experience. And as my vacation came to an end, it never really occurred to me that a relationship with Vincent would be possible. After all, he lived in Rome and I lived here. So 3 days after I arrived home, he called me and he told me how he felt. He said he was curious about our relationship, and he said he wanted to give it a try. And my response was, "You mean you want a commitment? I live here and you live there. How is that gonna work?" And he said, "I can come visit you for the summer and we can see how we are together." So he came. And it turns out we really did have something special. So the question I had was, are you gonna move back to the US or am I gonna move to Rome? And one night, as we sat at Nashawanek Pond, just staring into the night sky, I saw a shooting star. And then I saw another. And so I said, if I see 7 shooting stars, I will move to Rome. And I did. Turns out it was a meteor shower, but I didn't know that at the time. Moving away from my family was a big deal. Growing up, it had just been the 4 of us. My mom, my dad, my sister, and I. And we were really close. So that decision was a bold one. It required me to be courageous and to trust that it was the right thing to do. I had given myself 6 months, and I would move after my birthday in January. Halfway to my move date, I went back to Rome. I really missed Vincent, and it was an opportunity to move some of my stuff, along with some hot sauce that Vincent had requested because he missed it. When I got there, we decided to have our first dinner party together. Now, cooking for Italians can be intimidating. They are very particular about their food. They typically don't deviate from recipes. One time, I suggested putting chicken in pasta, and the response was an overwhelming, "Non si fa." You don't do that. Or, the heavens would strike you down if you put cheese on a plate of spaghetti and clams. It was in our best interest not to cook anything Italian. So we decided on buffalo chicken cutlets with the hot sauce I had brought. There would be no way they could criticize or judge us because it didn't exist in Italian cuisine. Or at the very least, we could blame it on our culture and not on our cooking skills. So one afternoon, we went to check out what would be our new apartment in Testaccio neighborhood of Rome. Testaccio still is a very Roman neighborhood. It has one of the oldest open-air markets in the city. On our way back to Vince's apartment, we stopped at that market. We needed the chicken for our buffalo chicken dinner. And that's how we met Roberta and Mauro, the butchers. What I first noticed was how beautiful Roberta was. Wearing makeup and gold jewelry, she was not what I had expected a butcher to be. Even her smile was inviting. Vincent told her that we were going to make chicken cutlets, and so she got the chicken breast and filleted them for us. Now this was a totally different experience for me. Back home, when I'd get chicken, it was already wrapped in cellophane and styrofoam. Never had I had someone cut my meat for me. And watching Roberta was like watching Michelangelo chipping away at the David. She was an artist with a knife. And her hands were so beautiful. I noticed her wedding band, similar to that of my mother's. I felt like she'd been cutting meat for decades. And I also connected to her maternal side, probably because my impending move would mean me leaving my own mother. Curiosity created so much richness for me. All of my senses were alive. The sounds of the loud and lively Italian spoken in the market, people chatting away with one another, their laughter, the sights of the meat, whole rabbits, sausages, liver, brains, the colors of the fruit and vegetables behind us, the smells of cheeses, fresh bread, and the body odor of the man standing next to me. The visual of people's hands dancing around as they spoke to one another was magical and could have been dangerous if I had gotten too close. Vincent and I were so in love with everything that was happening around us. How could we not make a delicious meal, having had this experience, just buying our ingredients? Not knowing the impact that trip would have on us, including a friendship with Roberta and Mauro, we went back to Vince's apartment to cook. Dinner was a huge success. We had introduced our Italian friends to buffalo chicken cutlets, and they loved them. This experience had created even more wonderment in me. And as I returned back to the US, counting down to my move, I would carry this with me as an important reminder of what was possible in Rome. When I finally arrived, 4 days after my big move, I was sitting, staring out like a cat, longing to be outside. I had come this far. I had taken such big risks. I left my great job, my close family, my friends, everything that I had known. And there I was, just sitting. I could not move. I was paralyzed by fear. Vincent had gone back to work, so I didn't have the security of getting around the city with him. And I really wanted to go to the city center to buy some boots. It was January, which meant saldi, sales. And the only way to get to the center on this rainy day was to take a bus, which I hadn't done on my own yet. So I started to think about all the things that could go wrong on the bus. Getting off at the wrong stop, or not getting off at all. I didn't speak or understand Italian yet. How would I know what the driver was saying? How would I make it back if any of these things happened? I didn't even know the word help in Italian, which, by the way, is aiuto, in case you ever find yourself in the same situation. Feeling frustrated with myself, I didn't move to Rome to observe it from my window. Thankfully, my curiosity had me wanting more. I wanted to be living in Rome, not watching others do so from my window. Feeling overwhelmed by my emotions, sadness at missing my family, angry at myself for not just getting out the door, angry at Vincent for not taking care of me like he had promised, and afraid that I had made a big mistake moving to Rome in the first place. I did the only thing I knew to do. I called my sister back home. She listens to my lamenting and my fears, and then she puts my nephew on the phone, Colin. He was 5 at the time. And he was my little buddy. We did everything together, including dance parties. And our favorite song was Hey Ya by Outkast. He made my heart happy, which is why she put him on the phone. So he gets on the phone and he listens to me, and then he says, Titi, calls me Titi. He says, Titi, when we do things we're afraid of, we might like them. I am in awe of my 5-year-old nephew, and I'm curious where he came up with this most valuable piece of advice. And I start to think about where I've heard it before. Hey, Colin, if you eat your broccoli, you might like it. He had taken his rule for vegetables and crafted it into this beautiful metaphor for life. I knew at that moment I had to get on the bus. So I told him, I'm getting on the bus, but I have to go right now or I will lose the courage to do so. And he responds to me and says, okay, Titi, now you can tell your friends, and those friends can tell their friends, and their friends can tell their friends. Again, I'm in awe at my nephew. It was as if he had spent a week at an Oprah Winfrey boot camp. Armed with my courage and my curiosity, I get on the bus. Needless to say, I do in fact get off of the wrong stop. But I still have my courage and my curiosity, and I find my way to the boot store. I buy some awesome boots on sale, of course, and I make my way back to the bus, and I make it home. And my nephew was right. I did like it. In fact, I liked it so much that I became an expert at taking the bus, even pushing my daughter in her stroller 2 years later. I ended up living in Rome for 5 years. My curiosity had me learning so much, not only about the Italian culture, but about myself. I learned that, yes, I can do anything. I even became a mother in Rome, where I was again faced with fears and anxieties about navigating pregnancy in a foreign country. And the value of my curiosity at that time had me really enjoy being pregnant because I looked at everything with a beginner's mind. Many milestones happened in Rome: getting married to Vincent, becoming a mother, and getting pregnant with our second child. And our growing family had me curious about the importance of our own family around, which is why we came back. When we moved back, we were in culture shock. We had been so practiced in the Italian way of life that everything seemed foreign to us here. Even speaking to people seemed foreign, which is strange because we're both native English speakers. It took us a while to settle in. And one of the things that we missed the most was the food. And it wasn't just eating the food, which is obvious, but the process of buying food, going to the market, chatting with Roberta and Mauro, getting recipes from them, and then getting vegetables from Rita and Vincenzo. They knew us so well that when our daughter was born, they held her as if she were their own granddaughter. The simple task of buying food in Italy is a deeply heart-centered experience. Italians connect over food. Food in Italy is like, food for Italians is like oxygen to the blood. It adds life to everything. This became a part of our life in Rome, so much so that we struggled to find that same connection here. And that struggle sparked a curiosity in Vincent about the possibility of creating something that we loved and missed about Rome right here in our community. I should have known that Vincent would want to become a butcher from that first moment he saw Roberta work her magic. When he finally came to me with his dream, I thought he was crazy. His job allowed me to be home with the kids, and he also worked from home, which he was present, but he wasn't completely happy. A butcher shop would have huge startup costs. It was a big risk. My fear brain went into, oh God, we're gonna lose our house. But a seed was planted, and I started to be curious about the idea. What would it be like to have an Italian butcher shop? What would it be like to connect with our customers the way that Roberta and Mauro had? When Vincent got laid off from his job, we took that as the opportunity to make this dream a reality. He went back to Rome and he apprenticed with Daniele, who is Roberta and Mauro's son. The vision is a Roman-style butcher shop, modeled after Roberta and Mauro's. Curiosity built this business, and let me tell you, it is humbling. There are moments when I am back in my apartment in Rome, paralyzed with fear, but I'm inspired by the people that come through our doors and say, thank you for being here. What curiosity gives me is possibility. The possibility to live in Rome and to have a family there. And the possibility to be here and have a business that weaves together all that we love about our time in Italy. And the moments when I'm faced with fear, curiosity gives me courage to explore my life instead of watching it pass me by. So the next time you're faced with fear, be curious about the possibilities that lie beyond the fear. Use curiosity as a way to empower you. And remember what my nephew said. When we do things we're afraid of, we might like them. Thank you.